Someone you love is going to die one day. So are you. And somewhere, deep in your skull, a part of your brain has been rehearsing that fact for 300,000 years. You bury the dead, you mark the grave, you come back to visit it. You probably think this is just tradition, something culture taught you. But the real answer is far stranger. Long before there were priests, before there were coffins, before there was any word for funeral, your ancestors were already doing this. And the reasons why reach back further than language itself. Picture a cave in the mountains of northern Iraq. Cold, dim, the smell of wood smoke and wet stone. Around 60,000 years ago, a group of Neanderthals carried a body into a shallow pit inside that cave and covered it with soil. This is Shanidar Cave. Archaeologist Ralph Selecki excavated it in the 1950s and 1960s, and what he found there rewrote what people believed Neanderthals were capable of. Pollen clusters turned up near one skeleton. Selecki proposed the body had been laid to rest with flowers. The flower burial, he called it. Decades later, researchers questioned that detail. Maybe burrowing rodents dragged the pollen in. Maybe wind did it. Science does that. It doubles back. It corrects itself. But here's what nobody disputes. The body was placed in the ground on purpose. Not discarded, not abandoned, positioned. That single fact matters more than the flowers ever did. Because burial isn't really about flowers or ceremony or what gets placed beside a body. Burial is a statement. It says this individual still matters, even now that they can't do anything for you anymore. Think about that for a second. In the animal kingdom, once an individual can no longer contribute, evolution has little use for sentiment. And yet here is a species, tens of thousands of years before agriculture, before writing, before cities, choosing to spend energy, time, and risk on a body that offers nothing back. Why would evolution allow that? Paul Pettit, an archaeologist at Durham University who has spent decades studying Ice Age burial practices, argues that the earliest deliberate burials weren't really about honoring the dead at all. They were about managing the living. A decomposing body attracts scavengers. It carries disease. It's a problem that demands a solution. Digging a hole and covering it up may have begun as simple hygiene. But something happened along the way. The practical became emotional. The disposal became a ritual. And once it became a ritual, it never stopped evolving. By around 100,000 years ago, at a site called Kafse Cave in what is now Israel, early Homo sapiens were burying their dead with deliberate care. One skeleton was found with deer antlers positioned across the chest. Deliberate. Symbolic. Nobody buries antlers by accident. This is where it gets strange, because a symbol only means something if there's a shared understanding behind it. If you place antlers on a chest, you're not just solving a hygiene problem anymore. You're saying something. To who? The body can't hear you. So who is the message actually for? You already know the answer, because you do the same thing today. You visit a grave and talk to it. You leave flowers on a headstone that cannot smell them. You write letters to people who have been gone for years. This isn't irrational, it's ancient. It's the same behavior stretching back through Kafse, through Shanidar, into a part of the brain that never fully accepted the boundary between here and gone. Anthropologists have a term for the psychological gap this creates. Continuing bonds. The relationship with someone doesn't end when they die, it transforms. And the ritual, the burial, the grave marker, the anniversary visit, exists to give that ongoing relationship somewhere to live. Here's the twist most people never expect. Burial may not have started with grief at all. It may have started with fear. A body left in the open is a body that keeps intruding on your senses. The smell, the sight, the reminder. Some researchers, including those studying great ape behavior, have observed chimpanzees returning again and again to a dead troop member, touching the body, inspecting it, seemingly unable to process the stillness. Biological anthropologist Barbara King has documented this kind of primate response to death for years, describing behaviors that look uncomfortably close to grief, without any of the ritual your ancestors eventually built around it. That's the difference. Chimpanzees seem to feel something is wrong. Humans built systems to answer it. So burial wasn't just a way to deal with a corpse. It was a way to close a loop the brain refuses to close on its own. Out of sight, but never quite out of mind. A grave gives the mind a location to put its unfinished business. Now here's where the story turns from ancient to intimate. Because that hole in the ground did something else too. It became the first permanent record of a person's existence. Before writing, before oral history was reliable across generations, a grave was proof. Someone was here. Someone mattered enough to be marked. That single act, marking a location, may be one of the earliest forms of memory technology humans ever invented. Long before cave paintings, before tally marks, before any symbol system, a burial site said, "Remember this place. Something important happened here." And once that idea took hold, it never let go. It shows up in Egyptian tombs stacked with treasure for the next life. It shows up in Roman roadside graves positioned so travelers would read the name aloud. It shows up in modern military honors, where a single folded flag stands in for everything a life meant. Different centuries, same instinct. You still feel it. Think about the last time you passed a cemetery. Something in you slows down, even if you don't know a single name carved into those stones. That reaction isn't taught. It's inherited. There's a reason it feels heavier than logic can explain. Neuroscience research on grief and attachment, including work from Mary Frances O'Connor at the University of Arizona, has shown that the brain treats a deep relationship almost like a habit loop. It predicts a person will keep existing, keep responding, keep being there. When that person dies, the prediction doesn't just stop. It has to be unlearned, slowly, painfully, sometimes over years. A grave gives that unlearning a physical anchor, a place to return to while the brain catches up to a truth it doesn't want to accept. So when your ancestors dug into that cave floor in Shanidar, they weren't performing some primitive superstition disconnected from you. They were doing the exact thing your brain still demands today, giving loss somewhere to go. Every wreath left at a war memorial, every candle lit at a vigil, every name read aloud at a service, all of it descends from that same impulse, the one that made a Neanderthal kneel over a body 60,000 years ago and choose not to walk away. That's the part people miss. Burial was never really about death. It was about refusing to let disappearance be the final word. So the next time you visit a grave, or pause at a memorial, or simply think about someone who's gone, remember what you're actually doing. You're not performing a custom your culture invented. You're running code written into you long before culture existed at all. Someone you love is going to die one day. So are you. And somewhere, deep in your skull, a part of your brain will already know exactly what to do about it.